Over the past few months, I've had barely any Switch games to look forward to. Earlier this year, we got Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury, and while I have played Bowser's Fury like 4 times, I can't say whether or not I'll get a whole lot more mileage out of it. Other than that, there was the random Super Mario Party update that added proper online, breathing in a whole new life for the game to me, and yeah, that's about it. Nintendo's recent E3 Direct revealed a lot of cool stuff coming up for Metroid and WarioWare, but nothing quite topped the excitement I had for one game in particular, and you might not believe me when I say this, but that honor goes to Mario Golf Super Rush. I cannot begin to describe how hyped I was for this game from around the time it was revealed up until launch, and it's really bizarre to me because I really don't like golf that much. At least I don't think I like it because mini golf is stupid and dumb and requires so much precision. Like, imagine this but scaled up 1,000 times and boom, that's real golf. But put some wacky characters like Mario and frickin' King Babam in a golf game where you can race on a golf course and I will absolutely eat that crap up. Like, I'm not even going to be subtle about it, I love this game. I had heard mixed things about it at launch, but honestly, I think I enjoy the game even more than I initially thought I would, so today let's talk about why exactly I love Mario Golf Super Rush. I can't with good conscience just skip over the golf adventure mode, but I'll be honest, I don't really care for the story modes in Mario sports games too much, at least in the sports games I have played. Like, I like the addition of the hub you can explore and all that, but it just feels like a lesser version of the main gameplay. I'll say this much though, it does have some decent tutorials on the basic mechanics and lingo of the game, and if you really don't want to check it out, you'll probably do just fine in Speedgolf since that doesn't rely as much on superb precision, but if you want to get good at the game, then there's really no reason not to. What I have played of the adventure mode is really slow and has some weird design decisions, like standard golf being played as if it's speed golf for some reason, even though there's no time advantages, but if you expect me to talk a whole lot more about the adventure mode, then you're going to the wrong video because I've heard it's a pretty mixed bag. Call me lazy if you want to, but after Mario Tennis Ace's adventure mode being so not good, I just don't have a ton of interest. So other than the adventure mode, we've got standard golf, speed golf, and battle golf. Standard golf is pretty much exactly what it sounds like. You play each hole in a course trying to sink your golf ball in the hole in as few strokes as possible. If you're practically a beginner to the console Mario Golf titles like I am, you'll have a lot of trouble at first and probably not enjoy this mode, but please give it some practice and more chances because it's literally the main freaking mode of the game. That and it's fun too, like, come on. Let's cover some of the basics of the game and talk about what everything does because just about everything is important here. Golf is a game about precision, so you have a number of things to account for, from the wind to the curve of your shot on a hill, and even course hazards like trees and quicksand. It's really important to evaluate your shot and just take your time thinking about the possibilities because it can be the difference in a fairway shot or a bunker. Just as important to keep in mind is this bar you'll find in the main golfing HUD as it judges the power as well as curve of your shot. If the gauge is mostly filled, you'll shoot your golf ball further, and of course if it's lower then the golf ball won't go as far, but there is one other thing to keep in mind when adjusting the power of your shot, and it's something I really don't think was a great idea. You see these red spikes? If you charge up your shot to go up high enough to touch the red area, this is what's called the risk zone. Basically what it is an RNG based accuracy determiner that has the possibility of curving your shot left or right, and I don't like this. From what I understand, this thing wasn't present in prior Mario Golf games, and I think Super Rush would have been just fine without the risk area because it can turn a strategy and precision-based game into a roll of the dice if you're constantly wanting to charge your shot to its fullest potential. Now, the risk area's size will depend upon the club you're using and the position your golf ball is in. For example, if you find yourself on a slope, the area affected will be larger, but as for the club risk differences, personally I never find myself using different clubs, though most of them tend to have smaller areas of risk from what I've seen. Typically speaking, it's about a 50-50 chance that your shot will have a large curve inflicted by the risk area, but even then I just wish it wasn't here because nothing is benefited by its inclusion, and it really feels like something that was only added in for the sake of speed golf to make it more of a party type game. And I'll talk a little bit more about why this is a confusing decision later in the video. But to reiterate, I don't personally feel like it affects gameplay massively, it just detracts from it occasionally whenever it does have a strong effect on your shot. There is still plenty of precision and strategy involved, especially with the ability to curve your shots. Most of the time this is used for shooting a golf ball over or around a tree, as they're one of the most prominent course hazards in the game, but if you're a crafty player, you can make great use of the effects of curving. The basics for curving is if you hold up on the left stick, that'll make your shot go higher but not as far, and you can change the direction your shot goes in by holding left or right. Personally, I'm not the most clever player, but if you know what you're doing, then this really adds a fun amount of strategy into the game. And if you want to push your golf ball further by other means, you can also use top spins and back spins. Top spins carry your shot a little bit further, while back spins and super back spins allow your shot to stop more quickly. The last core mechanic of the game are special shots. This meter below your character will fill up throughout the course of a game, and when it's full, you can use it by pressing L to unleash an attack upon the golf balls in the area affected. Each character has their own specials, like Yoshi's will turn the competition's golf balls into eggs, and Rosalina's will turn them into star bits, while most of the others just bounce the opposing golf balls away from your own. In standard golf, I hardly find a use for the specials because I personally enjoy having everyone take shots at once, and because of that the specials are pretty easy to avoid. In a basic game of golf, however, yeah, they're fine. I'll delve more into the character differences in a bit. Alright, so those are the absolute basics of the mechanics that you should know before jumping into a standard golf match. You don't necessarily need to know any of these things for the other modes, but you'll greatly benefit yourself by getting familiar with the mechanics and how they affect your shot because it adds a whole new layer of depth to the gameplay. Next, let's talk about the main reason why I was so excited for Mario Golf Super Rush in the first place, Speedgolf. Speedgolf is honestly a fantastic adaptation of the Mario Golf formula. Basically, in it your goal is the same as in regular golf, but with a twist. You still need to try and get your golf ball in the hole in as few strokes as possible, but also as quickly as you can, because in this mode you physically traverse each course. This doesn't feel like it should work as well as it does, and honestly certain courses do have holes that aren't great for speed golf, but generally speaking it's a weirdly great mix. Now earlier I mentioned that there are special shots in standard golf, but in speed golf there are two kinds of specials, the kind I just mentioned and special dashes. Special dashes allow you to move across a course at a faster speed, and if timed and aimed well, you can slow down your opponent and even remove some points from their special meter. Keep in mind, the special meter is a separate meter from your stamina meter, which determines how long you can run for and if you can use special dashes. If you had to ask me, I think the best special dash has to be Rosalina's, as if you time it just right, you'll fly over stage hazards, but to make up for that, her running speed isn't quite as fast as many of the other characters. I think the characters are generally well balanced, though I don't like using heavyweight characters like King Babam or Charging Chuck as much as the lightweights because they can make certain terrain harder to cross by how slow they can get. Now that's not to say they aren't viable options for speed golf. If you're an actually competent player unlike me, you can get decent mileage out of them, but I prefer the speed of characters like Mario and Yoshi. A minute ago I mentioned that the amount of strokes you take does matter, and that's because each stroke you take adds 30 seconds to your time at the end of a hole. Your overall time taken in a hole determines your placement, or in other words, how many points you get. So just because one player gets their golf ball in the hole first doesn't necessarily mean they'll get the most points. If you place your shots well and don't rush yourself too much, that could very well be the difference in you getting first at one hole or last. It can be hard while you're under the pressure of trying to stay ahead of the opponents, but there is another element to the mode that can help. If you get first place at a hole, when the next hole starts, your countdown timer will be significantly longer than the other players, not only giving them a chance to get ahead, but also allowing you some downtime to strategize and plan your shot to really get the most out of it. I feel that the mode is pretty well balanced in this area because both good players and not so good players are given ample opportunity to get ahead. I also love the unpredictability of this mode. Special shots are much more effective in speed golf compared to standard golf since since you'll have to chase your golf ball down if it gets blasted away. Like, it's chaotic but oddly fun. Like, I can't explain it. I think the most important part about Speedgolf are the courses. There are holes that have annoying gimmicks or just downright irritating design at points. The desert course has probably most of my least favorite holes, but the forest course does have some standout stinkers too. Overall, each course has a typically simplistic design, which might end up hurting the game in the long run, but I still do enjoy coming back to them. One thing I really enjoy about the courses are the holes that implement multiple paths to take, as it gives Speedgolf in particular a lot of replay value. Just exploring the courses on foot gives me this sense of childlike wonder because they're pretty to look at and fun to golf in, and it just gives me this feeling like an out-of-bounds area you're not supposed to be exploring in, except this time you can actually explore it, like, fully. Not to mention, just breezing through them is super fun. I'll admit though, traversing some terrain can be super slow. It's not a deal breaker for the holes that have a lot of rough terrain to cross over, but I do wish there was less of it because by the time you've used your special dashes, you'll have so little stamina at some areas that you'll just have to slowly crawl through. And there are some areas where if you use a special dash, it can end up being wasted because you just bump into a wall, which is super irritating. I think it's most egregious when you're playing as a heavyweight character because you already go slow enough, but the desert course, for example, has a lot of holes with quicksand leading up to the hole that you can very easily get stuck in. You can jump to help get out, but it's still annoying. If I had a few other complaints though, one would be that the environments don't give off a particularly Mario aesthetic to them. It's not a deterrent for me personally, but I wouldn't blame anyone for thinking they look visually boring. Super Mario Party as well as Mario Tennis Aces have a similar look, and I don't quite understand why. The games do have aspects of the art style that remind me of Mario, but it's a weird mixture of realism and cartoony art. Another complaint I would have is that there is an okay number of courses, but there should really be more. I found myself having unlocked all of the courses by day 2 of playing the game, and there are plans for courses to be added in updates, so I'm just hoping for maybe 2 or 3 new ones at some point, but I don't know. 6 just seems a bit disappointing. Also, the random accuracy gimmick can really hurt some of these courses, and I believe that's why the game opted for more simplistic design. These are some good entry point courses for beginners, but after a while I could see them getting tiresome. The last mode there is to go over is pretty much the same kind of deal as Speedgolf, but super fast paced and intense. Battle Golf puts you and 3 other players in a stadium filled with 9 holes close together. The objective is to sink 3 holes before everyone else, and if you thought Speedgolf could get chaotic, then you don't know anything, because in a good Battle Golf match, it's like a freaking war zone. Battle Golf is decent, but doesn't offer up a whole lot, so unless they add more courses, I don't know if I'll keep coming back to it. Currently, there are 2 courses, and that's really a pathetic amount, especially for me, since I kinda don't like the technical court as much. There's a lot of stuff in both courses that can shake things up, like the item balls that can be shot towards other players to throw them or their golf balls off course. There's also the rush countdown, which gives all players a temporary bonus or debuff, like changing your golf ball into an egg or a star bit, or giving you a star. If you had to ask me, I would say I prefer Speedgolf. It's not like Battle Golf is bad because it can be pretty addicting, but Speedgolf just has a lot more interesting gameplay to it. I think what doesn't help Battle Golf is that the courses are close together, which makes it pretty repetitive on repeat playthroughs, even though, as I said, it is addictive. It's just very, very simple. The online for this game is also pretty decent, but has some weird design choices that make me fear a bit for the lasting player base. You only have options to search for a lobby with specific rule sets, meaning you can't just search for all lobbies for one game mode. You can't create a friend lobby, then make it public when your friends get in, but other than that, the online isn't nearly as laggy as certain other Switch titles, but it does have its moments of disconnecting, but that's kind of what I've come to expect with Switch Online, if I'm being honest. I know this is kind of a lazy way to look at it, but I really don't see Nintendo even attempting to improve the online experience. I don't know, it doesn't seem like a great possibility to me. Overall, Mario Golf Super Rush is really fun and has generally okay course design with plenty of replay value for speed golf while still retaining coherent design for standard golf players. Speed golf also adds a ton to the game, being an interesting and unique shakeup from the core gameplay, and battle golf, while limited in courses, is a decent little addictive distraction. For $60, is the game worth it? I do think the price is a bit steep since there's enough content to keep you busy for a little while, but as I've reiterated throughout the video, the game needs some more courses to keep the player base active. And not just that, but the game oddly lacks certain features from prior Mario sports games like tournaments. The lack of tournaments is kinda baffling to me because if I recall correctly, they were in the game at launch in Mario Golf World Tour, so there's no reason for them not to be in Super Rush. It's also especially baffling to me because this game strikes a weird balance between simplicity while also still trying to promote a competitive scene for the game. Camelot's previous title, Mario Tennis Aces, also did this, but in that game it really didn't work well, and in Mario Golf Super Rush, I don't think it works too much better. Don't get me wrong, Mario Golf Super Rush is vastly more enjoyable than Aces, but it sort of has this opposite problem where the gameplay is more simplified. And I really think the thing to blame for this is Speed Golf, because just about everything in the game is tailored towards that gameplay. And as much as I can say I think the game is really fun now, I do think that will affect my opinion in the long run. And another thing I think was kind of half-assed in this game was the personality. It really feels like most of the personality for this game went into the intro cutscene and some of the writing for the adventure mode. Like, the intro cutscene feels a lot like Mario Super Slugger's intro, which I really enjoyed. But again, Speed Golf seems to have affected another area of the game, being the animations for holes. If you remember, Mario Golf World Tour had a lot more personality in its hole animations, from hole-in-ones to the double bogeys and all that. Now, this isn't as big of a problem for me personally, but it once again shows another area of the game that was tailored towards speed golf to keep the game going quick. In one sense, I can't entirely blame the game for this, because I think in Speed Golf the hole animations aren't as necessary, but the standard golf mode could have had these hole animations more flared up. And at the very least, the ending ceremony could have had a little bit more oomph to it, because it's kind of just like, hooray, you won, okay, bye. Again, I don't think this is enough to ruin the game for me, but I really feel like they could have put in a little more effort here. Like, it just feels oddly empty. But other than that, I can only hope from here that Camelot properly supports this game, because it could become one of my favorite Mario sports games, or just as easily another boring one to keep on the shelf. Currently, I have been really enjoying the game, but I can really just see where this could go downhill. If you're still on the fence about getting Mario Golf Super Rush, I'd recommend checking out some gameplay footage and maybe another review or two to get a different perspective, because while I say I enjoy it, many other people have been saying they outright despise the game, so I don't know. There are just a lot of little things about the game that can add up to really ruin the experience for certain people. But, yeah, that's basically everything I have to say. I apologize if this video was different from my regular reviews, but this game was pretty fun to talk about. Let me know your thoughts about the game in the comments. I'm Wyrlwind, and thanks for watching. Bye!